Hey everybody! Alright, I wanted to make a quick video to show you all how to save a ton of money. One thing that I've been noticing is that a lot of artists and collectors spend way too much on gas. So they're minting pieces, they're settling auctions, things that don't have to be done immediately, but they're paying the gas price that the Ethereum network is charging them right now. And if they're not doing that, maybe you're a little bit more savvy and you realize that, oh, the Ethereum gas prices change quite often, right? And if you just wait, a couple hours, if you constantly check the gas prices, sometimes they'll fall really low, and then you can really quickly, get your transaction through then. That still takes a ton of time, right? So it's a trade-off between time and money at this point. And still, you're probably not going to get the lowest gas price that gas will fall to in like an entire day, unless you're literally refreshing your screen, like checking gas for 24 hours, which of course you won't do. And so that's been the trade-off that I've been seeing, and that's really not great, right? Because people are paying way too much money, oftentimes 2, 3 times as much money as they have to mint pieces and to settle auctions and as a collector, like to bid on a piece, right, or whatever. And so I'm going to show you a much better way that doesn't take any time and will save you 2 or 3x the money that you're charging right now you're being charged right now to make a transaction go through. Real quick, I've made this video a couple times. My computer has died last time and realized the long version of this video takes a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the short version in the first 5 minutes, and then I'll explain those things for people who want to actually understand a little bit more what's going on. So let's get to it. I've already done this a couple times, but the first thing is you try to make a transaction. So you go through here, you find an awesome piece of art like this that you want to buy. You say awesome, great, or same thing if you're minting a piece or settling an auction, all that. You do essentially the same thing. Foundation says, hey, gas is $27.99. You're like, screw that. That is way too much for listing this thing. If you click this button, you might have noticed there's an edit button up here. Click the edit button. You see it shows you low, medium, high gas prices. This is totally useless. This changes price like, literally a couple cents, right? That doesn't do anything. Click advanced options. That's where the magic happens. Gas limit, don't worry about that. That stays as it should be. This is the thing you want to change. You can see it literally changed for me right now. This is the current going price of gas, right? You can change this to whatever price you want to pay, and then the transaction will go through when the network falls to that level. Right now, it's like super overheated. It's like 150 Guai, right? There's probably a PFP project going on. Probably people are just like making a million transactions, trying to get some bunnies or something on the blockchain. You can change this to whatever you want. So usually I do 35 to 40 these days, and that's fantastic for something that doesn't have to happen immediately, but can go through overnight, right? And that's like minting a piece again, right? Something that, you can wait a little bit of time. So it says max fee too low for network conditions right now. Don't worry about that. That literally just means it's too low to go through right now because people are minting bunnies on the blockchain, right? But when that's over, it's going to go through at some point in the day when Ethereum's network congestion falls down and the gas price falls as well. So right now we can see we changed the price from like 33 bucks to like $8. That's fantastic. I could click confirm here, but like I told you, I've already done this before, so we can actually just go to my pending transactions and I'll show you what's been going up. So I've actually made a couple different ones to explain different things. Don't worry about too much of this. You can just see right here, I set the gas price myself on the transaction to 45 Guai, right? And this one has taken a long time to go through because literally the blockchain has been insane recently and it's super high gas, but it's falling down, so it's good. Now, you might have known that there's something called speed up, right? If you've already placed something here, you might have seen that this says speed up. And you probably already know what that means, right? That means that you can speed up your transaction. If it's been taking too long to go through, you can go through and just make it go a little bit faster. So it's always worth setting your gas price lower at first, because if it's too low and it's taking too long and overnight you wake up, you set it overnight and then you wake up in the morning and it still hasn't fallen that low, don't worry about it, you can just speed it up. Now if you click speed up, it's going to show you low, medium, high again, right? That's not what we want. We want advanced options, right? Go here, we can speed up to ourselves whatever we want, right? Here I could put 65 Guai and then speed up, and okay, 14 bucks, not terrible, right? It'll be good. It'll go through. I don't need to do it right now because I'm going to show you something better. That advanced options thing is all you want to see, right? You don't want to see a low, medium, high. That's a pain in the ass. So go here, click your profile icon right up here, go to settings. In settings, go to advanced, and then advanced, click advanced gas controls on, and then click customize transaction nodes on. I'm going to explain that a little bit too. But now, if you go back, you're not going to get that terrible, low, medium, high thing. It's just going to show you this right off the bat. Fantastic. This is what we really want to see. Now, this is really expensive gas. Don't really know if I want to pay that right now. It's probably going to fall, so no worries. I'm just going to make this a little bit higher. Let's say 68. Let me see. And did that go through? Let's see. Boop. Perfect. It sure did. So now you can see I've replaced my earlier transaction with 68 Y. All right, that's it. Now that's essentially all you need to know for, like doing your own gas and all that, right? You can set your own gas price. Now, if I'm going back and I'm bidding on this piece, right? Let's pretend I'm making this bid again. Now that I have advanced gas controls enabled, you can see I don't have to have that low, medium, high thing. I can set my own gas price. The last thing I want to explain to you is how do you pick which gas price to set, right? Well, there's this thing called etherscan.io/gas tracker, and it'll show you the gas price right now. You can get to this page, by the way, just by pressing this like 100 Y thing up top anytime. But then, that's just the gas price right now. That's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is the lowest gas price every day, because that's the price that I actually want to pay, that I know I can pay to get away with paying the least amount to mint a piece or to settle an auction or anything else that takes, a long amount of time, or, it doesn't have to go through immediately. And so now I can see the minimum every day is about like 30 Gwei or less, actually, right? It's actually quite low. And so that's really good. That means that for some part of this day, the gas price on the Ethereum network fell to 30 Gwei. So that means if I'm paying anything above that, I'm not getting the lowest price I could for something that doesn't have to happen immediately. So I usually, the minimum price is a little risky, right? Because that's really, really low. You don't know how long it's there. Maybe your transaction won't go through, even if it does fall that low for just literally like 10 seconds, right? And so I usually set a little bit higher, like 35 Gwei or 40 Gwei. But this is how how congested has the network been over the last few days, and what is a reasonable price to set. Remember, again, if you set a price too low, it's okay. You can always speed it up later. So it's not the end of the world if you set your price too low. So now it's 29 Gwei, for a minting transaction when I do something like this, or if I'm starting a bid on auction, right? And it's not like something that's going to end in 10 minutes. If it's something that's going to happen so quickly, I'll pay a little bit more gas. But if it's not something that's going to happen super quickly, I'll go ahead and I'll set this. When I'm like bidding, I'll probably set it to like 45 or sometimes even 50 because it's not that much money because the transaction takes a little less work than other transactions. But when I'm minting a piece and it's like pretty expensive already, right, as a thing to do, I'll usually do like 35 or 40 Gwei or something like that. Okay. So now let's actually make sure our transaction does go through. You can see gas prices are falling. That's fantastic. I'll take this time to explain a few more things to you all. So what exactly is gas and why do we need to pay it? So you can think of gas as literally the same as gas in a car, right? That's where they took the naming from. And there are two things that determine how much you have to pay to go any distance in your car, right? Let's say you're driving from California to Texas or to New York. So this is not true, but let's say that New York is exactly twice the distance as Texas from California. So obviously, if you were to pay the same price per gallon of gas, let's say gas right now is $4 a gallon, then you would pay twice as much to ultimately go from California to New York as you would from California to Texas, right? So those are two things that determine your gas price, your overall cost per transaction, right? There's a price you pay per gas, which is, $4 a gallon in the case of a car, or, the Gwei price, right, that we're talking about, the 100 Gwei that it is right now, or the 35 Gwei that you set yourself, whatever that is. And then the other thing is how much work you're doing, right? In the case of driving a car, right, it's the distance you're going, right? And in the case of a Ethereum transaction, it's how complex that transaction is. So the simplest transaction you can do on the Ethereum network is to send money from one person to another, right? That takes what's known as 21,000 units of gas. That's like, the same as saying like it takes 21 miles of driving or something like that, right? And so that's super, super, super short. and costs very little money because it's a very simple transaction, right? Send money from one person to another. A much more complex transaction is minting a NFT, right? If you're minting a piece, that requires a ton of code work to happen behind the scenes, and so that costs a lot more money to do, even if the GUI you pay is the same price, right? So if you pay 35 GUI versus, um, for doing a Ethereum send of like, 1 Ether from one person to another, or you pay 35 GUI to mint a piece, right, on Foundation, it's going to charge you way more money. It's going to cost you way more money to mint the piece on Foundation, right, than to send money from one person to another. Because sending money from one person to another is essentially like driving from San Francisco to LA, right, versus driving from San Francisco to New York, which is like minting a piece. So that's one thing, right? And then the other thing is, yeah, the gas price. So, if you pay $2 a gallon to go from California to New York, and then you paid $4 a gallon to go from California to Texas, let's say, New York is twice the distance of Texas, you would actually end up paying the same price, right, overall. And that's because you paid twice as much per unit of gas, right, to go to Texas as you did New York. So even though the distance you have to drive was twice as long, the ultimate price, the total cost is the same. So that's the thing that we can change, right? We can't change the amount of work that we're doing because that's just literally how much code needs to go through, right? And so for example, if I were to bid on this piece, 2.6, something like this, if you click edit here, the gas limit is about the amount of work that you're doing, right? You can't change this, never change that, because if you set this too low, your transaction is going to fail because you're like, oh, it's like essentially saying, I'm only going to drive 500 miles to get to New York. And if it takes more than 500 miles to get to New York, then I'm just going to stop right there, right? That kind of doesn't make any sense, right? Because if it's like it takes you 3,000 miles to get to New York, how can you say you're just going to go 500 miles and then like call it a day, right? That's like what saying the gas price too low is. You're like, all right, I know that this transaction is complex enough to require 72,000 units of gas, but I only want to do 21,000 units of gas. Your transaction is just going to fail and you're going to feel terrible and you're going to waste all the gas that you spent driving, 500 miles and then getting stranded, right? And like not being able to do anything. Never change that. What you can change is the price you pay for the gas, right? This is analogous to like going to a gas station and like the price per gallon of gas is like $8, and you're like, that's totally insane, right? You know what? I'm gonna leave my car here, and then when the gas price falls to $4, I'll give you my credit card. Just charge it then and fill up my gas tank then, right? So that's like literally what you can do on Ethereum is you can just leave your car at the gas station until the gas price falls to the price that you're willing to pay. And then when that happens, you can go ahead and boom, the transaction will go through, they'll fill up your tank, you're good to go. All right, so as I've been talking, we can see that the white price has fallen a little bit. This is good. It's still pretty freaking high, right? But it's a lot lower than it was like, literally 5 minutes ago. And so for the sake of getting this tutorial done for y'all, I'm going to speed this up again. So right now you can see once I sped it up once, the speed up button is gone. That kind of sucks. I can do something else called speed up here, and you just have to click this literal thing to go ahead and speed up. Boom, awesome. Now I'm going to show you a secret way to do this a different way than now. But okay, let's just go ahead and make this really, really fast. Boom, says it's too low, whatever, who cares. Boom, it's sped up. Okay, so this is going to make another transaction. So you might be wondering at this point, and this one probably should go through, but you might be wondering at this point, how exactly does it replace transactions? Well, you can see this thing up here. It says duplicate nonce. Found 3 other duplicate pending transactions, 1, 2, and 3 with the same from account nonce. What does that mean? If you click more right here, there's this little button, click to see more. If you click that, it's going to show you the nonce right here, this thing right here. What is a nonce? Sequential running number for an address, beginning with 0 for the first transaction. For example, if the nonce of a transaction is 10, it would be the 11th transaction sent from the sender's address. Essentially what that means is that this is just an incremental number that goes up every time you do something with your Ethereum address, right? I've never done anything with this address. This is new for me. And so the first nonce is 0. Now you can see I have 5 pending transactions here. 4 of these actually all have the same nonce. And so you can see it found 3 other duplicate pending transactions with the same nonce. That's because I've been trying to make this transaction for literally quite a while, and the gas price has been really high. My computer's been dying, whatever. So I started with like 45 guai, right? That was too low for right now. It's not too low, remember, for if you want this to go through in a day, right? But because I want this to go through in like the next 20 minutes, I have to pay a little bit more, right? And so this one, you see, I replaced again. I'm like, okay, you know, 25 was, actually, this is my second transaction. Don't worry about that for a second. I'll explain that in a second. But, you know, I'm like, all right, that was too low. Let me set it to 55 guai and 5 guai for priority fee. Um, I'll explain this in a second too, what those two things mean. But then I was like, all right, that's too low, right? It's still not going through. Let's set up to 68 guai and then 5.5 for the max priority fee. And then I was like, okay, that's still too low. Let's go up to 75 guai and the max priority fee of 6.05. And this will go through because you can see already right now we fall into 78 guai. So this is high enough. We don't need to go any higher. But how is it actually replacing the transaction? How does that work? Well, you just replace the nonce here. You just have the same nonce and you pay a higher price for the gas, and then that's going to replace an old transaction that has the same nonce. So you might have seen this before, right? Maybe you've had this even happen to you, right? Where you have a bunch of pending transactions. Even if you're not changing the gas price yourself, sometimes Metamask gets it wrong, right? It suggests you a gas price that's way too low because as soon as you set that transaction up, like the gas price shoots up because, you know, there's a huge PFP, NFT sale going on or something, right? And then you're like, crap, you know, maybe you're bidding on like 3 different auctions at the same time. And the problem with the Ethereum kind of network for your wallet is only one transaction can go through at a time, right? Everything is sequential. So if you set a bid with too low of a gas price, and then you try to like bid on another auction that's also ending in like 10 minutes or something like that, that's not going to go through until your first transaction goes through. And then you bid on another one and another one, whatever, right? You get really frustrated. You like, you know, send like 10 bids, all of them are going to get stuck. Even if you put like 100 guai for the next like, you know, 4 transactions or like 2,000 guai or some insane amount, right? You pay like unbelievable amounts of gas, they're still going to be stuck because the first transaction that has a really low gas price has to go through first before everything else can go through, okay? And so what you really need to do is you need to replace that first transaction before you can make anything else go through. And you need to replace it with a transaction that has a higher gas price. How the Ethereum network works is that miners are, you might have heard the term miners, right? They're the people who are, you know, using GPUs to solve this complex math problem. You don't really have to worry about the details of that to get you, you know, like a block, right? To give you a block where you can add in your transactions and, you know, put things on the actual blockchain. And so those people are self-interested, right? They're doing it for money. Now, you might have seen this thing in MetaMask, right? When you make a transaction, it gives you this whole thing. If we speed up again, right? Max priority fee, and then the max fee. If you hover over this, it'll kind of explain it, right? So the max fee is this is the most you'll pay, base fee plus priority fee. Cool. And then this is max priority fee. Goes directly to miners and incentivizes them to prioritize your transaction. You'll most often pay your max setting. Okay, so what this essentially means is that there's a base fee, and then there's a priority fee, and so this is the maximum amount that you're willing to pay for your transaction, inclusive of base fee per gas and max priority fee per gas. What does that mean? Essentially, after I think August or so, the Ethereum network made an upgrade that was supposed to make gas better. To be honest, I don't really see how it has, but and you probably haven't also because gas is still super expensive. Long story short, before that, Ethereum used to give all the gas that you paid straight to the miner for, you know, rewarding them for mining stuff. Now it burns it. So literally most of this transaction, if this were to go through, 43.5 guai would just be burned. And then the miner will only get 1.5 guai as a reward. And so that's good for Ethereum overall because it makes it deflationary. I'm actually also a miner, so you know it's not great for me, it's not great for other miners, but whatever. You know, we're in it for Ethereum long term. We're happy because it makes the price of Ethereum go up supposedly over time because there's more deflationary pressure, right? Not inflationary pressure. Whatever, not too important. Basically, this is the price that you're willing to bribe the miner to make your transaction go through first, and this is the price that you're bribing the network to basically make your transaction go through at all. And so when you want to replace a transaction, you just have to bribe the network with a little bit more money. You just have to make that priority fee and the max fee that you're willing to pay a little bit higher. It's that priority fee plus the max fee that matters. Whichever um, transaction has the highest gas fee, essentially, and the highest priority fee is the one that the miners, being self-interest people, are going to choose to mine, right? Because they want to get as much money as possible. So you can see here I have a 6.05 Gwei max priority fee, right? They're obviously going to choose. So they have 4 different transactions here with all the same nonces, right? In the network, theoretically they can choose to mine any of these, right? To place any of these in the transaction. But practically speaking, all the software is designed. This, it's not like a person looking at these, right? It's all software, and the software is designed when it says, hey, there are 4 different transactions with the same nonce, right? That you can choose one of to go through and then ignore the other 3. It's going to choose the one that pays them the most money, right? So they're like, all right, let's choose to make this one go through, right? And here's something cool I can do. I can actually not just speed up my transaction rate. So there's another way to replace it now that we know about nonces. So right here, I can just speed up this transaction again and again, and you don't have to worry because you can see you can literally speed up as many times as possible. But let's say you change your mind, right? Like you're looking at this piece of art, and this is a great piece of art, so I'm not crapping on this specific piece of art by any means. But let's say I'm just like, oh man, I found another piece of art that I really want, right? And this one is ending really, really soon, right? So let's say this is another amazing artist, right? This one, let's just pretend is ending super soon, and I only have like, like 0.3 ETH. I can't afford both pieces. This time I really want to get this piece instead, but crap, I already spent my money on this one, right? And you regret that you did this transaction, something like that. Amazing thing is now that we understand, how you replace a transaction is you literally just change the nonce. We can just replace this transaction with another transaction. And now that we understand um, how this bribing system works, we can actually just increase the price of our transaction and go through. So this one, 0.2201, right, this transaction was to bid on a different piece, remember? The first piece that we were trying to bid on was this one by 1012, right? And so we were trying to bid on this piece. Now, let's say we change our mind. We want to bid on this piece instead. How do we do it? All we have to do, remember, is change the nonce to be the same, and also raise the priority fee per gas and then the max fee per gas a little bit. And we'll see what happens if you raise it a little bit too low. Okay, so I can say place a bid here. And then, how do you change the nonce, right? Well, you probably forgot by now, but I actually checked this thing way back here in advanced settings, advanced, right here. There's a advanced gas controls, remember? We set that up so we can change the gas Gwei directly. The other one is customize transaction nonce. Turn this on to change the nonce on confirmation screens. So we can manually figure out which nonce we want. 0, that's the transaction I'm trying to replace, right? Duplicate nonce, whatever, all that. Gwei right now is 85. Excellent, great. I can probably just, make this a little higher and make it go through. So right here, I go place a bid. Now, if you set this to, see, custom nonce, it wants me to put 1 here, right? Because that's the next nonce, right? It assumes I want to make this transaction go through after my existing transaction. But actually, I want to replace it. So I set this nonce to 0. And then I go through here, and then I can set whatever fee I want. But if I set it too low, it's not going to go through because it's not going to replace the other one, right? So for example, if I do this, and my max priority fee is too low to replace it, this is not going to go through. I'm going to get a error here, nonce too low, etc. Has already been used, whatever. Let's go replace this thing. Let's go set my gas fee a little higher. Why don't we set the gas max fee to 85 Gwei instead, right? To really beat this one out. And then we'll set the priority fee to 7 or something like that. Let me try that. Oop. 7.05 just to be cool. 85 total. 0. Nonce has already been used here. That's what it's telling me. Oh, Right. Oh, crap. That's because the transaction already went through. My bad. That makes sense. Okay, so while we were trying to do that, actually, turns out the transaction already did go through. So we already bid on the piece. That's great. We wanted to bid on the piece anyway. So you can see now it went through for the 75 Guai price, right? The price that we had already set here. And so, it took only the highest one that we had paid, right? So here's the thing. We had another transaction here that I wanted to do, which was to bid on another piece. This one did not go through, right? Because I was waiting for the first one to go through. And also the gas price here was too low. So I'm going to replace this transaction with another transaction, right? And so how do I replace the transaction with another transaction? Let's say that we want to bid on this piece now, right? I can replace this. And how do I do that? I do 0.110 ETH here. And that one was 50 Guai, right? So I just need to do this. Yeah, this is a custom nonce. Make sure it's 1, because again, the nonce has to increment by 1 over the last one, right? So the last nonce was 0. Now the last, that's why I said nonce was overused, right? And like the transaction had gone through. Also found 3 other drop transactions. What that means is, the other transactions they just ignored, right? Because this was the only transaction that they actually went through for that one nonce. Now we can go ahead and we can see the one that's pending right now is nonce 1. So I can go ahead and just, you know what? I'm going to do something else. I'm going to find another random piece of art to bid on that I actually want to change to that piece, because that is actually a piece that I'm looking for. So let me just get something that's a little bit low here, just for demonstration purposes. What's good? What is good? Let's go to my feed. I don't actually have a feed. Okay, this is gonna be hard. Let me go to trusty old my account. Let's go find someone that I bid from before that I know sells things way lower than they should. Who's good? By the way, shout out to all these artists. You should be buying art from all of them. Okay, this person sells art too low. Good. Cool. Awesome. So here I'm going to set a transaction to replace the first one, right? This is not what I was bidding on before. I'll put a transaction right here, and I'm going to set the gas prices. Remember, edit, change the gas prices. Right now it says max fee 117, max priority 1.5. That's what's recommending. I don't need to do that. I just need to up a little bit more than this one to replace that. Let me try replacing it a little bit too low, and you'll see what the error message might be if this is in fact too low. 55, and at 1.6. Let's see, 56. Remember the nonce should be 1. Boom. Oops. 55. Let's see, 57. Yeah, let's do 56 just to see if this is actually too low. Awesome. Nonce is 1. Confirm. Awesome. This is the message we get. If you set it too low, it says replacement fee is too low. Transaction is underpriced. So you need to increase it by a little bit more to just really make sure that it actually does go through, right? And so usually I increase by like 50, by 5 at least, right? So how we can do that is, I'll show you how to do that. Let's go here, 0.15. So the last one I set was 50, right? I'll do this 55. I'll make the max priority fee 2.5 here. And let's see if this goes through. 1, boom, now that goes through, right? And so usually you just need to increase the priority fee by a little bit to, that's the bribe, right, that you're sending to them. So you can see this one replaces the other transaction I had, right? And all I had to do was change that nonce. When I enabled it in advanced settings, I can change the nonce. So here we go. Now you can see I have 2 pending transactions for the same nonce. Awesome, great. So which one is going to go through? The one with the higher gas price, right? This one is 55 Guai. This one is 2.5 Guai. This one's 50 Guai, 1.5 Guai. Miners are self-interested, right? They're logical, rational creatures. They're going to they can only pick one of these, right? Because I'm saying for my next transaction, transaction number 1, right? Nonce 1, I want to do one of these 2 things, right? One of these 2 transactions. This one is a bid on one piece of art, right? this one is a bid on the other piece of art, right? Only do one of these. Which one is it going to choose? They're going to choose the one that I'm paying them more money, right? But actually, you know what? Say I change my mind. I'm like, holy crap, actually, no. I do want to bid on that first piece, right? Jonathan McCabe. Okay, my bad. Let's go back. Let's bid on this piece. Okay, real quick. Run. Now we say that. I really regret that I didn't want to bid on this piece. Sorry about that. Let's go here, and I'm going to say 60 for this one. I'm going to make the max priority fee a little bit higher, right? I'm going to save the same nonce. It says replacement fee too low here. So 0.11, same problem that we got before, right? Remember, change the nonce to 1 because we want to replace it, not increase it, right? 70, and we're going to put this to 70, or 65, I guess. I think that was good. Perfect. Now we replaced it. So now let's see what happens. Boom. Now there are 3 duplicate nonces, all for the same one here. So again, we have 3 different transactions. So I'm literally just the most indecisive person in the world, right? First thing I said, all right, I want to bid on this Jonathan McCabe piece, which is amazing, right? Okay, cool. Awesome, let's do that. I said I'm going to pay 50 guai and 1.5 guai for a max priority fee with a nonce of 1. Good. Now I'm like, wait, never mind. I want to bid on another piece, right? I want to bid on this other piece for 1.5 ETH, which is also an amazing piece, right? I can't decide which one I want. I can only get one. I'm not rich, but I can't decide. So I'm like, all right, I want this one. All right, let me change my mind. Let me replace the same transaction, right? And now I need to pay a little bit more to do that, right? So I say 55 guai and 2.5 guai right here. But then I'm like, oh wait, never mind. I really want this piece. So then what I did was I went back and I replaced that transaction again with another transaction right here. And this one I like put 65 guai, right? And 5 guai for the max priority fee. And you can see here it says duplicate nonce, found 2 other duplicate pending transactions. 1, 2 of the same from account nonce. Great. Okay, cool. So now let's see. It's getting there, right? This is 65 guai. It's not going to go through right away because you can see there are 2 things that it actually says on the gas price. There's the base gas and then there's the priority gas. And so my base gas is actually too low for this because my base gas is actually only 60, right? Because I set a priority gas of 5. So out of that, 65 minus 5, my base is actually 60. So it's still a little bit too low, but you know what? I think it's going to go through eventually. Well, actually, gas price is going in the other direction. So if that happens, there are 2 ways I can solve this problem. Like before, I can do this speed up button right here, right? So remember that, you can go through, I can just make that a little higher. Or the other thing I can do is to just replace the transaction again with a different nonce manually myself, right? All I have to do is go back here, click this, and change the nonce back. So I could say I want this to be 75 or something, right? And that max priority fee of like 6 or something like that, right? And then it would go through. And then remember, change this nonce, not from 2 to 1. If I did 2, it would actually make a transaction after the transaction that I am trying to replace. And then that transaction would go through and then like fail because I'd be trying to bid on the same piece twice, which is bad. You know what? I don't think I need to change this. This is an exercise in patience. If you wait long enough, it's going to go through. And in fact, I'm paying too much for gas right now, right? Because realistically, this piece still has 17 hours. I don't need to bid right now. I could wait until gas falls a lot lower. Remember, you can go to historical gas prices here. And you can see when the gas prices are at their lowest for every day, it's a lot lower. It's still half of this. So you might think that, 65 guai is actually a pretty good price because it's not literally 125 guai like it was before, but still literally twice as much as you need to pay for most transactions. And so for things that really have no time rush, like minting, you really should set like 35 as your gas price. Go to sleep overnight, see if it mints for 35, and then if it does, go ahead and you're saving, half your money, right? If it doesn't, then go ahead and speed it up a little bit, right? So I'm gonna be a little patient. We're gonna see if this goes through. We're really close. It just has to go in one direction. Let's see. Why is it not going through? What's going on? Let me show you guys. Another pretty cool tool that you can use to see what's going on. Icy tools, I don't know if you guys ever checked this out, but this shows you what things have been spending a lot of money lately, and it looks like there's been a new mint called Superfuzz, the good guys, and that's been uh, using up a lot of the network. So who knows what the heck this is, but yep, they just minted. That's cool. This is a pretty cool tool if you guys haven't seen it. If you want to, yeah, ape into. It's mostly not exactly the best PFP projects, but some of these are good. And this tool will let you know what's trending right now, right? What's hot, what everyone's trying to buy. And so that's pretty cool. But really, we're just here to wait for our gas to go through. All right, so maybe after some time you're like, I'd really like to stop making this video now. You all really like to stop watching the video. All right, let's go do this thing one more time. We go back, we place a little bid right here, and we say, remember, custom nonce 1, set this finally to, and if I do the math correctly here, I'll need to set this to like 76, and then put a max priority fee of, oh, wait, never mind, it just fell. That's nice. So let's see, I need to set this to like a max of 73, and then max fee right here, boom, 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 this will go through. Oh, nope, gas just went up again. This is kind of the whole thing that you have to do. You really do not have to do this. This is only because I'm trying to get my transaction to go through really immediately. You can also do this the other way around, right? If you're trying to like mint a new PFP thing that just dropped, you can also increase your gas price a lot, right? To make sure it goes through. But now it should go through because you can see the base is 67. If we do the math right here on this transaction, we set 73 guai right here, and 6 guai was the max priority fee. So 73 minus 6 is 67, right? And gas right now is 62, so boom, we can see it went through. And we can see as it went through, the beauty of it is all the other transactions dropped. If you look down here, it says also found 3 other transactions dropped, right? Including the one where we tried to bid on a different piece. See, this one was dropped and replaced. So it was not, in fact, something that went through. So if I go back here, we can see now that the bid is me. I'm the highest bidder. Yay, this one went through. And the other piece that I was trying to bid on did not actually go through, which is, by the other photographer, who was awesome. Cool beans. Hopefully that helps. That was a very long video, but the first 5 minutes hopefully explained everything, and hopefully this gives you a little bit more insight into just the more complex things you can do to really take control of your Ethereum transactions and pay much less gas than you may have been to date.